Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Zach Congonis. We are here to bring you the best solutions to your lifting problems. Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way. Alrighty.
Right.
We're going to kick it off. Welcome to the Nexus Performance Zach cast. Today,
More gusto.
Hey. I'm holding the reins. I will judge the gusto.
Zach. That's not how you introduce.
I shall determine how much gusto is taken, as I am the captain for this podcast, and you are merely a seaman.
Oh, okay. Well, in the Navy I technically was, so.
What do you
At
think
least
Zach
a
would have been
corporal.
ranked if he was actually in the Navy?
At least, I don't know what a corporal is.
Would have quit for sure. Would have tapped out.
I'd have like a white beard. God damn it.
Well, there is no corporal in the Navy, so you've absolutely fucking failed miserably already. Poor Josh. He's the most loyal listener.
Well, anyway, as I said, I'm getting the reins for this interview. Will is the podcast E, and I'm the podcast and we're going to be going through all things ProRaw prep.
Will is the guest.
No, I reckon I like podcast E. That's my word. Mickey, this
Okay.
is my episode. Fuck.
Sorry. I can't help but steer the ship, Zach. You know how I operate. Should I just
have
mute
the steering
myself?
wheel. And this will be the most chaotic and jumbled episode we have ever done. So I'd like to introduce our guest. Our guest today is Will Crozier. You may not have heard of him. If you haven't, he does powerlifting occasionally.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Zach.
That's
Really
right. He's
appreciate you taking the time.
out of my exceptionally busy schedule of putting photos of raccoons in our admin sheets.
Yeah.
I assume Mickey
I know,
hasn't
it's
seen
a
it
hard
yet.
life.
That's right.
I assume it's a hard life.
It is. It's very difficult. Anyway, how close is ProRaw? When's this episode airing?
This era, I think, after.
No, it airs the day before ProRaw.
Okay.
On Friday, on my birthday.
Yeah, so we'll make
Everyone's
lots of
saying
fake
happy
promises
birthday
in
to
this. And then, no, what? No.
Happy
I've been told you, we're not doing the
Will.
We're not doing the time travel thing. We're not doing the time travel.
Will.
Thank you.
Yes, this is getting aired on the 17th.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, yep.
Right before ProRaw.
It's such a great day for you.
So
Super stressed.
now, just under 2 weeks out.
Yes. Yeah. We're
pointy
into the. I actually like this end of it, you know? Like I've said on the previous episodes and stuff, this is like the easy part because you get to hit fun lifts and do fuck all, and it's great. It's just more of this is way more mentally challenging than physically at this point, even though still absolutely feeling fatigued, and there's a few reasons for that, but we'll go into that.
Yeah, we'll get to our questions.
But
our well-led
the hard part comes after. The hard part, I think, is, well, again, the mentally easier part is the off-season, but physically it should be kind of a little bit harder as well, even though it's not for most people.
Even though you're just such a beast that this part is actually the easy part.
No, I didn't say easy. I said easier. It's challenging in a different way.
You're
Joints.
mentally a little bit more resilient for this phase of prep, where most athletes are.
Oh, I'm still nervous. I'm still sitting here like, oh, fuck it, you know. What if I go there and fail my squats and everyone laughs at me?
Fails your first 2 squats, and oh no, what if I then fail my first 2 benches? Oh, I'm going to be such a fool.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
If you miss any opening, all you'll get from me is just intense laughter.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that.
You know how there's like this kind of awkward silence when somebody misses a lift? It's like they're looking at the lights, the crowd's like, yeah, and then it's just quiet. All you'll hear is, ha! Like the Nelson laugh.
That'd be Zach.
No, it's never. I've only ever experienced it once, or twice at that one comp, and it's it's not a fun time. I hope I don't end up in that again. I'm not going to say I won't, because then I'll absolutely eat my words. Come back and it'll. So
episode after ProRaw. Fuck.
Yeah. So I don't want to be in that
I can
boat.
see Zach was definitely not laughing at the last ProRaw where you went through all of this. I don't think Zach said much of 2 words to you because he didn't
There isn't
know
much
what
to say. There isn't much to say.
No, there's nothing.
And the people that did say stuff, I remember it being not helpful. As in people saying like, oh, why don't you do this? And it's like, well, fuck, bro, you don't think I'm fucking trying?
Why don't you just
come
squat
on, man.
deeper, man?
Jesus, like,
All I remember is Mickey like directing me to the side, being like, stand next to the judge and look at depth.
No, yeah, that doesn't really help either. So
I was definitely
Not at
cracking
all.
whips that day.
but this is
that's
very
for
different.
sure.
This is a very different comp. It's very different. Like it's a different place. Like it's different circumstances to that. So hopefully we do not run into that. I'll do my best for that not to happen, as always. But
Putting your best foot forward.
yeah, I don't want
Hitting
to jinx myself by saying I won't as well.
I mean, have you got openers planned yet?
Yeah, rough. It's just such a unique day. It's
What's the rough plan?
Well, so for third attempt, like what the goal total, I think roughly would be 365, 200, 365. And so if we go,
I think is lowballing a little bit, but
yeah, but
he's
I
being
think I just
conservative.
think that's a nice place to be. I think they're good numbers. I'm pretty confident in all of those, and if we start to push any higher, that's when I'm going to start to it'll be a bit of a roll.
that
of
gets
the
him a
dice.
930 total.
Yeah, which is well kind of above my initial goals.
What was the initial goals moving into this prep? Because I know for this prep it was a unique prep, like you've said on the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, it just changed.
But what were your
a lot.
initial expectations?
It changed a lot. First of all, just getting the comp was the literally the first goal, because I came into this prep kind of just not in, well, a lot of things happening in life, a lot of stresses that were impacting training, but just also just like not enjoying training a whole lot. Like I was just enjoying like broing out a little bit, but like the last thing I wanted to do was get under a barbell and squat, put some knee wraps on, squats heavy. The only one which I kind of was doing for the time between this one and my other comp a couple of years ago was deadlifts. And even then it was not really like productive, voluminous, building deadlifts. It was just kind of like maxing out here and there and having some fun with it. Not really active there. But so that was kind of the only lift I was kind of half confident in, and my knee was giving me a lot of shit, which I've managed to do a lot for. And it's feeling way better now. So like goal. And then when the numbers started to roll together, I would say even up until a few weeks ago, I wish go back and listen to the episodes, but I was thinking like 350 for my squat goal, but then really well. So again, bumping that up. So it's been really an on the fly prep.
Fortunately, though, we do have like Thomas is handling you. You got Matt Domney doing your coaching, and Thomas is handling you on the day. The guy that's literally handled you at every single competition bar your first.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Thomas is going to give you the numbers that is achievable, whether mentally you are there, you know what I mean? Like, I know he's not going to load something on that bar that he doesn't think you're capable of actually executing. And having squatted with Thomas the last few weeks now, like, he knows how things should be looking and feeling for you. So
yeah, and I fully trust him on that, to make those calls, to just make the right call. But the other consideration for the day is just the length of the day. So like we know it's going to be 5 straight flights, which is just insane. We're starting at, was it 10:30? So I mean, like, probably going to be deadlifting quite late.
Going to be a big one.
Probably.
which isn't new to you. Your last comp,
Yeah,
you
10:30.
deadlifted at 7 o'clock at night.
That was a 12-hour comp, the last ProRaw. So yeah, not new, but still, it doesn't really help performance. So
All of
have
those
to take
things
that
you've
into consideration.
factored in for your opening
Yeah,
attempts.
yeah. You want to go a little bit on the safe side for sure, and just go like, hey, if I'm deadlifting at 10 p.m, hopefully not, but if I'm deadlifting at 10 p.m. After a long ass day, and not only that, but like 3 long ass days before that,
Handling athletes.
yeah,
before.
I mean, like probably should be playing on the safe side, because you can always make bigger jumps, right? So yeah, the opening attempts I think will be quite conservative overall. I hit 340 in my squat last night, and again, pretty comfortable, but I'm thinking maybe like play even a little bit lower than that and just be a little bit more comfortable with it, just be like super confident with it.
An opener, you can like make the bigger jumps. Yeah.
I was going to say you're no stranger to the bigger jumps, because I know a lot of people tend to either err on the safer side or fucking. I watched a video of Whitaker do a 305 deadlift, then straight to 350.
Well,
It's definitely a personal preference kind of thing, but I guess once you're stronger, it doesn't matter as much.
yeah, and somebody like Whitaker, like the the bigger you are, the smaller the gas tank. Like it literally, like, you know, not only because powerlifters are inherently a little bit lacking on the conditioning side, but also just like you're a bigger human. Like there's multiple factors as to why. Like
doing 10 kilo jumps all the way up to 350 doesn't make this a lot of work.
Yeah. People underestimate how much like just literally warming up that over the day can take it out of you when you're that strong. But yeah, somebody like Whitaker, yeah, it's you need to because you're probably not going to have that many warm up, like that many attempts in you, like max is in you. You know what I mean? You have to be a little bit more big. But yeah, definitely no stranger to it. And not only that, like the other factor in this prep, which I haven't had in other preps, is that all those third attempts that I mentioned, I've done them before. Like the mental factor isn't there. So like it's a little less like, I guess, scary to jump to that. It's a little less intimidating of a weight. I'm like, yeah, you're like 360 was my warm-up. 360 was my opening attempt at my last comp a couple of years ago. So 5 kilos heavier than that for a third, like seems mentally a little less, even though I know that obviously like I'm not that strong right now. So yeah, multiple factors come into that, and it's just going to be a completely different comp to what I'm used to.
How has that impacted the prep? Because I know when you're pushing towards numbers that are somewhat new territory, it kind of adds this element of fear, for lack of a better word, during the prep as you're pushing towards those new areas.
Like adrenaline and
has it
excitement.
made the prep just generally less stressful, or has it decreased training intensity to what you've noticed?
Yeah, a few different things. On the mental side, a little bit easier. Like I said, all that stuff that I just went is kind of played into training. Things are a little easier to go for, that sort of stuff. But also, like, it definitely has changed the training approach a little bit in that, like, for my deadlift in particular, we've taken it a little bit on the easy side, knowing that it's a pretty consistent lift technically for me, at least out of the three for this time. And so, like, rather than going, like, you know how, like, if you program a lift for somebody, if you programmed, like, 360 for somebody and they're 362 was their max, like, they're probably going to, like, try and chip it and go for a PB, right? Like, that kind of mindset hasn't been there for me. It's been, like, way more focus on, like, what stimulus do I need to get out of this session, and, like, let's pick the appropriate weight to receive that stimulus in the body, rather than, that small PB would be nice, because, like, there was absolutely no chance I was going to get a PB. So it was just kind of like, it helped make training decisions a little bit more logical rather than, like, ego or emotion driven, which is kind of been good.
I mean, it's interesting to say that, because, I mean, wouldn't that be the desired approach even when you are looking towards hitting
it's
those
the desired approach, but it's just
numbers? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, it's a desire. But, like, we're
had the attitude physically you told achievable.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no ego behind anything, because you knew that you weren't the same athlete that you were in 2021 when you hit your 380, 390 attempt squat like that. You just were totally okay with that, because this comp was simply about getting back on the platform.
Yeah, but getting back on the platform, getting back in the mindset to push myself further
as an athlete
forward after this. And multiple other kind of like little side quests to this prep to do, before I get back onto the main. Or like this prep was definitely like a consideration for me of, like, we're going to do this prep and then see whether I even want to go and push the bucket further after this, because there's an argument for, like, just not, and maybe still not the sort of person that's just going to, like, fuck it, I'm just not going to do anything. But, like, maybe I reevaluate the goals and see whether powerlifting was something that I wanted to do. That was another thought at the start of the prep. So, yeah, been quite, like I said, an on-the-fly prep. It's been working it out as we go, week by week.
It's interesting that you say that, because I know that kind of that 1,000 number has always been the top of the list. Like, that's the overall goal. And hearing you say, whether or not you're kind of tossing up those pros and cons of continuing to push to that. Earlier on in your career as a lifter, did you ever have a time frame for that 1,000? Like, I've heard a lot of people, especially people like Anthony, saying, hey, I've got these numbers to hit. Here are these time frames. I'm aware that, being a large, dashing, strong as fuck, handsome man takes its toll eventually. Did you have those same time frames, or was it more so, okay, this is the goal, here's the realistic expectations, now we'll push towards it?
Not sure. I guess now I haven't been through it, the 1,000 target's still there. And it's not even 1,000 target. Like if a 400 squat and 400 deadlift mean 1,000 total, but hopefully they come with that. If I
think a 400 would get you well over 1,000.
Well, fuck, I should be able to bench 200 for sure. So, I mean, yeah. So,
okay.
like, that's just kind of like another box that would come with those.
So, like most good powerlifters, bench doesn't matter. Let's fuck that right off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's just it just makes up the total. But no, that's still the goal now. If that's what you mean, like that's where we're headed now.
You didn't have
I
a
was just
timeline
curious,
of when
like-
1,000 or 400 was meant to be attained. Like, it was just like.
Oh, I definitely want it sooner rather than later, but then just life kind of comes along.
Powerlifting is also a sport that's very forgiving to age.
Yeah. I didn't need to push for it, and
You look at Bass retired at 40, and he was very much on the cusp of 1,000.
yeah, he could have kept going for sure. It's just life. It's just it's priority shifts that kind of slow you down, as opposed to, if I'm sure if I put everything into it, like absolutely everything, and kept all the other factors aligned with the number one priority being powerlifting, that probably could have been there by now, but
Hasn't worked out that way.
yeah, shit just happens, and then you get in the way. So, but it's still definitely the target, and I don't really care when it happens. It'll just be. But I truly believe, like, again, probably shouldn't be saying like making promises or whatever, but I truly believe now that I can get it done.
The spark has been reignited.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mentally, I'm like, after this, I'm like, fuck, like I'm actually still able to do this pretty well. Like my knee coming good has been a really good sign of like my management skills when it comes to that, and the other people that have helped me. Got a good team around me. The gym environment's great. Being able to push.
Even in a position where the prep hasn't been as well as what you would have liked it to have been.
Definitely not it's not even the prep. Like I feel like we've managed the prep pretty well to get to this point. It's more like the previous shit, because as we've talked about heaps on lots of different episodes in our content and stuff like that, like you want to build, like a lot of your results come from doing a lot of the more general stuff before the prep. As in, like, if you get to prep and you're like, fuck, like this is going to be a huge task. Like, what have I done? What have I got myself into here? It's really going to be not fun. Whereas, like, if you're trying to like make up for your errors earlier, it really makes prep a lot more just not. Yeah, you just don't want to be there. Yeah, difficult to get the result you're chasing, but yeah, just not fun. And so, like, that was kind of where I was at the start of this prep, as in, like, usually you want to build a base, whether it be like just as an athlete, like fill in all the gaps, like, and build up a more general base beforehand through hypertrophy and conditioning and all these different things. And then when you get into the prep, it's just applying all those things and building the specific skills on top of that. Whereas I came into this prep having to do both of those at once to some degree. Like, it's like, oh fuck, like I need to get good at squat, bench and deadlift again, and oh fuck, I need to like kind of get some hypertrophy happening, and I need to get some general conditioning and try and survive that, and really work out where I am from a volume perspective. Like all these are question marks. Yeah, so there's so many that's what I mean. Like everything, like if I look at nutrition, that could have been done better. If I look at my conditioning and work capacity, absolutely that could have been done better. If I look at just like my I don't know, like health coming in, could have done that better. Literally all the stress and like all these different factors that come in to performing at your best week on week, and ultimately getting the numbers that you want on the day, could have been done better. So like that's what makes me a little bit more confident that
you're not sitting here bitching about it though. You've just done the work to you can.
No, I know that. Yeah, I know the effort that I put in wasn't ideal leading up to it for multiple reasons. Some in my control, some out of my control, and but that's what gives me that little bit of like a bit more of a spark now. It's like, oh fuck, I've actually done better than I thought on pretty average circumstances overall. And if I go back and I fix that nutrition, I fix these stresses a little bit more, and I improve on, like I have so much room to improve in multiple different avenues that I know that if I tick those boxes all a little bit better, I can. Perfect is not the word you want to use, but if I can improve all those little factors so much more, I know there's so much more room, so that's the exciting part about it for me, is like after this, like fuck, let's get to work and let's start to attack some of those low-hanging fruits.
With it being such a unique prep, you said you kind of had those little boxes split up of you had to re-bring these bits and pieces up at a similar time. Out of all of them, which was the most difficult to reintegrate, say between like the nutritional habits, the general base of consistency of training, or the actual skill aspect? Like which one was the most difficult to gain the consistency with?
Hard to say. Like each of the lifts, I almost have like things that, like if I look at squats, like that I've almost felt like I've had to relearn to squat in this prep. Like definitely, like I've done many squats that came back quite quickly, but like there were moments in prep where I was like, oh yeah, that's how I used to do it. Like fuck, my upper back feels way better if I do that. Or like, oh yeah, that's how you brace. Oh yeah, like that, the figuring out the knee thing. It's like fuck, oh yeah, that's right. My knee feels better when I do those things. So like a lot of those little, like the squat was way more skill. Like I feel like I've had to relearn it. And then
to give you an indication though, like at 8 weeks out, you'd only high bar squatted 240 kilos. That was the heaviest that you had done, and that was sitting
honestly
at 8 weeks
like
out.
Looking back on it, like and the how fast we ramped shit, it just like at that point of prep, I was like thinking to myself, there is no fucking way I can put 350 kilos on my back. Like I will be stapled to the floor without even thinking about it by the time I lift it out of the rack. And so like it proves that like you can't have that long-term kind of vision on it. It's good to have goals. Everybody should have goals, but like you can't like predict it as well as what we would like to. So like you just have to do the week to week and the day to day and put in the best efforts you can and look at all those stones that we're talking about and kind of do your best on all those aspects and let them add up and then see where you are come comp day.
I think the skill component for you was probably the biggest thing that you had to...
Probably. Look at it. Yeah, and bench was much the same. Like I literally only feel like maybe 2 weeks ago I kind of like remembered how to bench right. Like, with bench, like it looks very simple from an outsider point of view. Looking at it, you're like, yeah, he's fucking bending his arms. But like there's a lot of like little shit like the leg drive and getting that under it and just not freaking out once you have it in your hands and like just trying to coordinate it is a little bit more difficult than what the average person would understand. So like learning how to kind of get leg drive there and learning how to like keep my shoulders in a good position, it's actually come a long way. The skill aspect of bench for sure, and the deadlifts, like I said, it was the only one that was kind of left that I kind of felt competent with. So there's that.
And I guess that difficulty of that skill aspect only gets worse as you're reapproaching some of those heavier numbers. Like it's all good
that's
to
another
say,
skill
cool.
in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've reintegrated training, I've built my consistency, but you didn't just have to do that. It was like, cool, let's reintegrate consistency with something heavy.
Yeah, which is not ideal. Certainly not how you would want to go about it usually. Usually we would step people into it with.
And imagine if you don't have the
constraints
confidence and the skill in what you're doing and then mentally having to walk in there knowing like, shit, today I've got to put on 300 plus kilos on my back and execute.
Yeah, if my program was written as like, here's a 12-week block, follow this, like a percentage-based like preset thing.
Shitting bricks.
It would have been tough because I would have been like, fuck, I don't know if I can do that, man.
There was a lot of rants and conversations that you're having with Matt Domney through audio messages.
Yeah, fuck, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, this is a good instance to say as well.
Stupidly supportive.
Do as I say, not as I do.
It's probably this is where this prep is like literally fucking auto regulation.
This is exactly why templates do not work for like comp preps or monthly coaching.
It's not that they don't work. It's that you need to learn how to be like the flexible with them and understand how you can modify training from your template or whatever to go like, oh, this is how to get the most out of it. So, yeah, it's. I guess it's more proof that like you need to have a slightly different approach to people, and like go back and listen to our individualization stuff. Like you need to. It's more individualizing the athlete and your approach to the athlete as opposed to the program so much as like people to make it out to be.
On that individualization front as well, how has that side of things changed with the introduction of diabetes? Like, has the generalized structure of the prep had to change with the new things that have been thrown at you with that? Or have you noticed any major differences? Or is it more so just managing it as best you can alongside a similar plan?
Yeah, so yeah, like the prep, like it hasn't been like there's nothing you can do as far as the program goes as like to account for it. You know, like there's no way we wouldn't change the plan from another person specifically for that, but it does come with its own challenges for sure. Like there's the mental aspect of it a little bit, like just especially first time going through it, like just understanding it a little bit more in the background and it always kind of taking up a percentage of my brain there. Like,
how do you feel approaching that session? Oh, is this because of blood sugars doing this?
Yeah, adds another unknown for sure, like another readiness factor to tick. There were definitely sessions in the prep where like I would come in with my blood sugar a little bit lower than ideal, and then like I'm warming up, I'm like, fuck, why do I feel like ass? Like why? And then I just like look at my thing and it's just like, fuck. All right, so I have to go and like try and eat some lollies, but then like to spike them back up to get back in a more like ideal range for output. But by that point, you're kind of a little bit mentally like just working on it a little bit. You're like, fuck, what is this shit going on? So that me and you like Nexus in general, like we like the term like momentum, and coming into a prep and we talk about peaking from a mental and physical aspect, being momentum based, and like it's really good to like build a good week into another week and then another week, and then hopefully by the end of comp prep or whatever, like you're feeling a little bit better, even if there are some speed bumps along the way. You want some momentum going in, and it definitely those sessions like that are momentum fucking breakers for sure, because you're just like, fuck, squats feel good. Like last week's squats feel great. This week should be better. And then you come in like I don't account for the blood sugar quite as well, and then it kind of like feels heavy, and then I'm like, shit, I'm weak, and then so like kind of breaks some momentum, and then
you're like, fuck this diabetes, and you're like, why have I got this? Like, you know what I mean? It's sort of like,
and then there's the part which we haven't got to yet, which is the comp day. So, like, I'm really going to have to be, like, all over that. So it's another consideration on comp day. Like, comp day nutrition is already a subject which is quite complex in, enhancing performance on comp day, So, like, to add another layer to that and just make sure, like, oh, fuck, like, we got to make sure we take enough insulin and make sure we, like, I check my readings multiple times throughout the day and that it's going to go up and down.
Because you're not going to be wearing your pump.
I'm not going to be wearing my pump. I'll still have my CGM in, which is a glucose monitor. So it'll tell me where I am and stuff like that. But it's not as much as like as simple as like, carbs go in, sugar goes in, insulin takes it away. There's stress affects it. All these other hormonal kind of considerations within the body affect your insulin and insulin resistance, and which is something that I've had to learn rapidly over the last year. So, and I've never dealt with as stressful of a situation as comp day, both from a highs and lows, like the adrenaline coming in. Is adrenaline going to fuck with it a little bit? I don't know. Yeah. Like this is the shit I'm going to have to learn. And luckily there are some people, there's some, a lot of diabetic athletes out there within powerlifting, and
there's a couple that are going to be there on the day as well. I remember like at ProRaw last year, there was you, Alana, and Jordan. You had like your own little like beady group, is what I was calling them, like the little beadies group. And they're all sitting there. And,
hello, what are the beadies up to over here? That is demeaning, Mickey.
But like,
Jesus.
poor...
Get out, you're not allowed in that club.
Sorry. I'm not cool enough.
You have too much insulin. Get out.
Yeah. But like, you guys, you're all working to help each other out. Like Alana's, I believe her CGM wasn't reading to her phone. And so Jordan had a finger pricker that he had to hand to Alana to test her blood glucose to make sure that she was in the right ranges, and then all that sort of stuff. So it was like, those are things that we have to be prepared for. Like, Will won't be wearing his pump, so he'll have to self-administer. And what if his CGM does fault out with connecting to his phone, or what if his phone dies and because we're filming so many things or whatever? Like, we have to be considerate of that, making sure that the insulin stays cool and it doesn't go shitty and those sorts of things, so that he has enough needles. We don't know how many times he might need to inject across the day, like all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of different considerations that we have to have on the day. And fortunately, you do have a couple of other people.
And the pens are kind of crappy. Like, you can't really do like micro adjustments. Like this pump will let me do like 0.1 of an IU if I want. Like, it can really microdose it, and so it makes it a little more steady and a little easier to control. Whereas the pens, like, your lowest option is 1, and 1 doesn't really kind of work because a little bit comes out.
Yeah.
With it as well. So, like, you kind of, makes it a little bit harder. And you also,
I think just having a couple of people around you on the day that are incredibly high-level athletes, know what you're going through and stuff like that, it does make it that little bit easier to know that you can, talk to them and stuff like that and just get their experiences and whatever. And
my
feel your
plan
feels.
with it right now will be to come in with my blood sugars higher, because it doesn't really negatively affect it acutely. Too much anyway. Well, it's the better end to be on for sure. So I'll probably start there and then and just monitor it and make sure I don't head too low and just kind of top up where needed. But with the length of the day considered, I'll probably be able to have
meals.
Yeah, like my normal meals and shit like that. Like big.
We'll do a full comp, like a full breakdown
after,
of your diabetes. And then also
of that, and how I didn't fail my first attempt, hopefully, and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll do that after.
Why won't you wear the pump? Out of curiosity.
It's just annoying. Like, if I pull my shirt up now, like, you can see it's kind of in an awkward position for your belt, and I've worn my belt over it plenty of times.
That needle is permanently inside him.
This one you can't really see it in the camera, I don't think, but this top one is that's a needle, like a tiny, it's not a big needle, but it's still a needle. And whereas this bottom part's just like a connector part that has the tube on it. So, like, it's just in an awkward position for the belt, and it can kind of get in the way and it can rip out pretty easy. Like the other night I had my belt on, squatting with it on, so you can do it. But then I dropped my belt, I not threw it in a bad way, took it off, and then it got caught on this tube thing and then just ripped it out, which doesn't hurt, it's not a problem, but it's kind of just fucking annoying.
There has been a couple of times where you've put the belt on and it's kind of pinched awkwardly and stuff like that, and you don't want to be getting underneath a squat and then having to readjust things because of the needles pinching you or whatever. So
it can get caught underneath it and kind of pull it out a little bit, and then if it's real awkward and it's stabbing you constantly, it's just not. It's not fun. It's not a fun time. So I'd rather just not. I'd just rather you just use the pens on the day. Yeah,
you can have you should get Kiva to come down and just follow you around with a handful of needles. Just checking your phone. Kiva, get me.
I don't know whether I trust that. Sorry, Kiva, but I think I'll be doing that myself then.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll definitely add an extra layer of things to focus on, but it'll be interesting to see how it affects the day and how it affects the nutrition. On the topic of nutrition, how has it come into weight cutting and the actual food over the prep? What's your body weight at now? And I know you are cutting currently, but how much you got left?
Nah, I'm good, bro. Nah, I won't play that. So if you go back to episodes from 12 or 15 weeks ago, I was cutting back then to try and not be in the situation of cutting now. However, a couple of situations arose, losing our boys and stuff like that, made it quite hard to adhere to a plan. And then, just a couple of other factors just kind of led to just me
mentally
putting nutrition a little bit down the priority list a little bit. It's not like I blew out. I didn't get to 120 or some shit, and then I'm in this awful situation now.
You've kind of hovered around 113 for the majority of this prep.
112, 113 has kind of been my zone, making sure it doesn't get above there. However, it still has the
you've lost a little bit of weight, and then obviously things come in that do make weight kind of go up.
Yeah. So yeah, like right now, it's just it. Yeah, I'm just. I'm in the situation of trying to pull a little bit of weight off. So we're going into, now that the main heavies have been done, going into a bit more of an aggressive cut. Still with food volume quite high though. So there's another layer in terms of like doing a low residue in the days leading up to kind of control it.
This morning
to
you
another
were
a layer.
112.2, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm well within range for where I need to do. And I'm very experienced with having to lose weight and stuff, and I've done the 2-hour thing a bunch of times. It does make it more difficult, way more difficult than a 24-hour one where you can kind of do whatever you want. But
fortunately, you are not the first one lifting as well. You'll probably have a few hours between your weigh-in. Not just 2 hours. It's 2 hours till the comp starts, and then it's the under 80s and under 95s.
Yeah, it's not long, though. It's not long regardless. Like, if at best, I'm going to have a few, yeah. But, yeah, it's certainly more difficult than 24-hour weigh-in. And so I'm going to, on a cut right now. Then I'll bring in low residue later as needed, essentially.
Probably do a little bit of a water manipulation.
If we have to go to that degree. But knowing that I've only got, at best, a few hours to get that back on, it's something that needs to be pretty spot on. So, but yeah, luckily I've been there. I've been there a heap of times.
And I'm very good at my job.
Are you? I don't know if I trust you. Can't sabotage me.
It's all right. I'll do the water cut for you, Will. You get
Thanks, man.
2 handfuls of ice cubes, 2 days out, and that's it. Use them wisely.
Great.
Use them wisely.
And I'll use,
and a lot of coconut water on the day, so you shit yourself.
You got to maximize. It's the trick, right? So when you have the water in, you want to have aggressive diarrhea as soon as you enter the competition to distract your opponents.
Excellent.
I
might use some Albuterex or something. If anybody, do you remember Albuterex? I wouldn't have been around. Nah, the Albuterex used to be like so back in the day of like the people would call them like the glory days of like the hard pre-workouts, back when Craze and Jack 3D and like the OG formulas, essentially just all those mixtures. Yeah, essentially a watered down version of the legal drugs. So Albuterex was it was like a fat loss. Like I guess what are the modern ones like
OxyShred?
OxyShred. It was like a real like a version of OxyShred that actually worked essentially.
It's like OxyShred with Clen. It's OxyShred.
Yeah, I just thought that's what I was about to say. Yeah, they used to sneak in some of that shit and obviously not put it on the label, and that's the reason they don't exist anymore.
What? So you're telling me that secretly dosing your clients with Clen is a bad thing?
Yeah, for the drug tested athletes out there, probably stick to there are third-party tested supplements out there. I fully recommend them if you are a person who, for some reason, decides to test the competition.
It's very wise of you. Don't want to accidentally dose up on meth before a comp.
Yeah, not ideal.
What would a really heavy water cut do to blood sugars? Because, I mean, it would decrease blood volume. You don't know? Okay. Does anyone know?
This is the shit that we're going to find out. Another lesson.
No idea. We'll find out in fucking 12 days.
Yeah, so another less than ideal thing we know coming in. But again, like this is why this comp is going to be super useful with working out shit for the future, because it's like, it might go wrong, but it's only a failure if it happens again after that.
We probably could have had conversations with people that have done water and weight cuts and stuff like that.
I don't know if there's that many.
I don't know if the water cut would actually really do much to insulin. I feel like the stress of water cuts and low residue would probably have more to do with it.
Yeah, it'll have some indirect influence, but I really don't know. So
I don't think a weight like a water manipulation will do anything. I think the manipulations that we'll have to be considerate of is the low residue, because you're going to have to be very mindful of your meal timing and the volume of what it is that you're actually getting. And that's what we were talking about when I was putting together, because I've put together his low residue diet. At the moment, he's on quite a high volume diet, low calories, and a lot of those are, like potatoes and very easy sort of
potatoes.
Yeah. But the next phase is like lollies and honey and lots of like super high sugar options, and I'm
Worst
just
part,
a
easily,
little bit concerned
for
about.
anyone who hasn't done it.
Yeah, I've obviously not worked with anyone that's had to do a weight cut with diabetes, so it'll just be something to take into consideration.
That's where the pump will be a little bit better, because the pump makes so the way the pump works is I got this little fucking tube attached to me and then the other end of it. The other end of it looks like a little pager, essentially, with the tube coming off. Probably can't see it. And it's like a mini little thing, and then it talks. So this thing, Bluetooth, talks to the thing in my arm, and they say, this thing goes like, hey, your blood sugar is a little bit high. We should do something about that. Or, hey, your blood sugar is a little bit, heading low. We should do something about that. And I can manually dose it, like I said before, where I can type in 1 IU, please, and then it fucking does it.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
But it also it does make its own little automatic adjustments. So, like, it'll aim for, like, a number that I've set at, and then it will give me a basal rate. So, usually, if I was using the pens, I would have 2 pens. I would have a fast-acting pen, which I would use to counter the blood sugar for meals. So, say, like, I'm having 100 grams of carbs in this meal, so I'm going to take X amount of IU based on whatever my experience with it a little bit. And it's going to rapidly get into my system and correct for the blood sugar for those meals. Whereas I have another, in my case, a green pen, which is a 12-hourly insulin that releases a lot slower into the system. So it would kind of be in the background working slowly to just like deal with like the little, just smooth things out. So like just the little spikes here and there, it would kind of help. So that way I wasn't doing what I said before and just walking around and doing like 1 IU shots all the time, and the frequency of that would be really, really annoying.
So you'll use
more.
the basal stuff like overnight or first thing in the morning, and then you use the little orange pens.
So the long-acting ones that use in the background throughout the day, and then the fast-acting ones are your corrections. But this only operates off the fast-acting ones, and it uses a formula built into it that microdoses it throughout the day to act the same as a long-acting one. And it has a little formula built into it that if it thinks you're headed down too low, it'll reduce those background ones so that it can level you out a little bit easier. Or if you're much higher than what I've set it to, it will increase those basal doses in the background to get it down a little bit quicker.
And then it sends a lot of really annoying alarms to your phone if you're way too low, telling you to eat something.
Yeah. But mostly, like, it's not the pens where it's just like the pen. If I took 10 IU of slow acting one in the morning, it might give me, say, the calculations work out to like 1 hour IU an hour or something, right? Yeah. Whereas this makes slight adjustments to speed that up or slow that down, so that when things like low residue comes in and this will make those micro adjustments that little bit easier, as opposed to the pens where I might take the 1 IU an hour and then be like, oh fuck, I fucked up here.
So we'll use the pump during the low residue and then take it out the morning.
All the way up until all the way right up until the day. I'll be using it.
So it's kind
of
like
even the
pancreas
night
GPT.
of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the AI. It's not quite that good. It's very slow, because obviously, like, you wouldn't want to like a hella fast reacting one where it's like, you're high, fucking go, and then it just, then like some inaccuracies come into it, or like, it's fucked, and then it just fucking kills you. So that would be great.
Blowing insulin loads, just ba 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 ba.
Yeah. So it's very slow and conservative with how it goes, which is a good thing, but also, in certain situations, not ideal. So you want a combination of its kind of little bit of intelligence and then your intelligence layer, like, to control it on top of that. Makes for the ideal situation.
It's kind of like a simpleton. It's a simpleton of you telling it what to do. It's kind of like me.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to walk around, you're attached to me and just dose me insulin. Yeah, I mean, like,
just like a little tether, a little cord, and like tied to your hip.
Yeah.
Just like standing in the hole, just checking the phone, like,
I'm sure you'd be better at it than this. But in the meantime, this is the next best.
Put me in, coach. I got this. Fuck. All right then. Well, I mean, to wrap this up, I think a good place to end will be kind of what are the plans you have moving forward? Like, after this comp, what's the next thing for Wilbur Baggins and Pancreas GPT? That would make a great TV show.
It's a hard one, because like I don't want to like kind of like let this kind of heightened, I guess, motivation that I have at the moment kind of fizzle. So I did want to like throw my hat into the ring a little bit, not like, oh, let's do a comp in a month or some shit, or like even a few months, but let's aim for something relatively soon. So maybe like 6 months time. But in
What's
6 months time, we
say.
have things happening. We have our wedding, and we have our the stuff around that. So hopefully going on some holidays after the wedding too.
Which Zach so rudely tried to take annual leave over that timeline.
I can't believe you do that. But
He first said December. I'm like, yeah, sure, man, no worries. He's like, actually, can I go in October? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Sneaking out in there.
You shall not pass.
Yeah, so there is that. So like I was thinking originally like the Zero Pro, because that sounds like a really cool comp, and I think they'll do a really good job, as Zero do with everything. But yeah, I think it falls a week before or a week after.
A week after the
A week
I
after,
think that
yeah,
the
so
only fair thing is ProRaw's always been on Mickey's birthday, so it only makes sense for the next big comp to be on your wedding anniversary.
Oh, God. What? On our wedding day, Will
Yeah.
goes and hits a comp, and then straight after
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, you can
after
just be
the
waiting
Tensa
off to the
ceremony.
side in the dress. And
Could you
walking.
imagine? Do you know what Will looks like after a competition? Could you imagine him standing at the altar looking like that?
Maybe
Like,
even like, yeah, maybe what we, yeah.
He's considering it.
Like I'm thinking like I'm just imagining like Mickey's there, and I'm just waiting for you, which is my job on comp day essentially.
to wait for me.
Sorry, on wedding day. Yeah, on wedding day. Yeah, I'm standing there at the altar, and you're like, well, fucking. I'm
You
like,
may as well
come
do
on,
something
fuck,
while
what
you're
are you
waiting.
doing? No, I'm just smashing pre-workout because I'm going to like hit some squats after or some shit, and then Mickey's taking the time, and I'm like, fuck, here we go, trying to play the old fucking late to the party, just drag it out, try and get I'll see what you're doing here, Mickey, but I've already slammed my beef pre-workout, so if you hurry the fuck
You
up,
got
that'd
40
be great.
minutes.
Because I've got a temporary gym set up in the background. I've done some heavy research into the gyms around the area, and I've Zach
Byron.
is there waiting for me. So if you could please just speed this thing up, that would be fantastic. And then
If you could see my face right now, like you could imagine that I'm just
delighted.
yeah.
Oh, she's just smiling like a like a quokka, like that little fucking
Yeah. And the person who does the talking thing, I always forget what they're called.
Celebrant.
Yep. So they come in and they will be like, so, like we gather everybody here today for blah, blah, blah. And I'll just be like, fucking
Spit it up.
What do you?
He did actually when we had our first conversation with the celebrant. We had this meeting of like, how long does a ceremony usually take? And she's like, with the stories and anywhere between like 30 and 45 minutes. And this is the face that he gave me. He's like,
No.
You get
he's
13.
like, nope. He said, I want you to do it in sub 10.
Yeah.
Honestly, celebrants are pretty much professional thieves. Why are they so expensive? Like, what the fuck?
Well, if you had any idea as to what they actually do.
Yeah, they do. They do other shit. Like
They lodge everything legally, like all the paperwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm sure
and
it's
that
not that
actually
fucking
is
hard,
a
though, to be
government
honest.
fee.
How hard,
of-
if anybody out there is a celebrant and you want to write in and go like, yeah, this is why we, this is
Yeah,
the
celebrants
justification of our
write in.
price.
I suggested to Dakota that we get like someone to do the online course and have a friend do it for mates rates, but
Yes.
apparently it's not that
Oh, is
easy.
it just an online course? Well,
No,
fuck it, I'll do it.
It's
Yeah.
definitely not. It's like a fucking $1,500 course or some shit. It's not. easy.
Yes, and
Jeez,
to
come
lodge
on, guys.
everything legally, which is what they actually do.
Yeah, I'm
that-
guessing it costs money. Yeah.
Yes, it's a few $100s. It's not just like
So what you're saying is the government is a scam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck the
it makes
government.
sense. Like Bill Shorten, fuck him off. Is it still him
And
as
then
the
there's
president? What's-
our
I'm just seeing
celebrant.
ScoMo standing there going like, can't wait for a fucking Willem Mickey's wedding.
He's like,
'cause
I'm gonna
that's my
spend
retirement
this
fund.
on potholes. Nah, joke.
I'm gonna no. What you're saying is
I don't
I'm gonna
know.
tell them that I'm gonna spend it on potholes, but we all know that doesn't fucking happen.
Give me the 4X love. Alrighty.
4X. Jeez, that's
Yes,
that's
all
no.
right,
He's going to the
so-
fucking. He's going for the
Off
craft beers for sure. Old ScoMo. He's
He's getting a pale ale.
He's right at
He's
the,
getting the
he
fucking
wants-
4 Pines.
Yeah. They bring it. If they brought out a 4X to ScoMo, I'd be like, quickly take a photo of this because like I fucking want this on the front page. Me drinking cheap.
Then he
the
throws it at a
for
fucking kid.
And then,
kicks a
yeah.
puppy,
As soon as
drinks
the
a full
photo's
wine.
taken, he just fucking pegs it at the wall, fires the guy who brought it to him on the spot. Goes like, "You can get the fuck out, mate. What the fuck are you thinking?" And then he goes, "Bring me my 7X gold right now because I fucking I want the fucking premium shit."
Okay, all right, totally off topic.
at
Next
all.
competition.
I reckon we end it right there. That's perfect.
Aren't you glad that I'm back?
No. Nah, actually, I am a little bit. But I'm more happy that Bowser's not back.
Fuck, poor Bowser.
Bowser got locked outside today. So next competition, potentially before the wedding. We'll see if something aligns.
I'd
If
love to
not-
do just like a novice comp.
A
If anybody have
local
any,
meet.
a novice comp.
if anybody has any novice comps out there where the bar's super low, where I can just come in and just be like, boom, boom, flexing these kids. No, I won't do that. They can have the trophy.
You can have the exhibition title.
Yeah, I can be like a mad exhibition. Yeah, fuck yeah, that's a sick title. Yeah.
Okay.
And they what? The exhibitionist. You get on the platform and you bait and tackle it like, I thought this was a different thing.
We did talk.
Oh God, I have.
We did talk
Metacritic.
about-
So you must, you need a soft suit. I feel like, I thought, I'm just there wearing a fucking.
It's an
Borat.
exhibition. I'm the exhibitionist lifter. What do you mean I can't have my cock out?
No, we did talk about you potentially doing the American Pro. Because you do have a couple of clients competing over in the States, and the States was a location that we discussed going for our honeymoon in October. So that was an option, doing the American Pro and getting a bit of a call out for the, big name lifters and stuff
And
like
traveling
that.
to comps always comes with the benefit of built-in excuses,
And tax
Try.
write-offs.
which I genuinely like.
Yeah. All right. So I have one final question for you because it's not something that Zach actually asked during all of these. Was,
Scrunch
do
or fold.
you actually want to win ProRaw? Do you have the expectation
Fuck,
of
I know if I want to win. Jesus Christ, why would I be doing it if I didn't want? Like, well, I really want to lose.
Well, like Zach asked, like what your goals were, and your goals were essentially just to,
Yeah, the bar's set low, but I mean, like, if that's good enough to win, I'll fucking take it.
I feel real sorry for the person who comes second. Just you out here talking mad schmack.
No, there is some competition.
No, there definitely is some
he is-
motherfuckers who
he's
could
got
come
his
along
eyes.
and
He has-
absolutely shatter my dreams. For
He
sure.
has got a couple of guys that he's had his eyes on, but at the end
Hey,
of
you
the
gotta
day,
name them. I don't know who they are. You gotta name them. Come on, do the
No, we're
shout,
not
do the
naming
call
people.
out. Do like the
We're
Eddie
not naming
Hall
people.
Thor.
No, yeah, definitely. Like Chris, the Chris who came in. What did he come second last year?
yes.
Yeah, came second last year. He's absolutely right up there. He's fucking strong. If I don't,
Unchained strength on Instagram.
yeah, those
Fucking
He's a
numbers
sick
that I
cunt.
said
love
before.
him. He's gotten
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much
yeah.
stronger over the
I
last
think it's
little bit.
Unchained Strength,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
Just released
Okay,
an album.
Shout out
Just released an
Chris.
album.
He's
He's
a
in a
fucking
fucking band. Sick
cool
cunt. Yeah, I certainly can't play music, so I mean, he's got one up on me. But yeah, he's looking really strong. I know he did have some injuries in the prep, so
Fair game, mate. Fair game. Kneecap each other and then see who comes out on
Now,
top.
didn't
I mean,
he do
that
like
is-
a really good 350 squat the other week? I think I saw
Yeah,
it. He like, fucking
355.
did this crazy
yeah,
squat.
just of course. Look, I'm not saying that there's spies because I'm pretty sure he did his before me, but that's not the point. In that same week, he threw 355, and I did 350. But again,
And he's got a bigger bench than you two.
Ooh, we're gonna be.
right.
Here we go.
Jesus
I'm on
Christ.
Team Chris. Sorry, Will.
oh, fuck. All right, my team's turned against me. Again, if anybody wants to write into the show, there is a feedback form if you want to apply for the support, actually. So, because
Yeah,
Zach
Chris.
is clearly,
Put through a message and give me your best smack talk.
Fuck.
Say something like
Oh.
Whisper it in Will's ear.
Big Willie,
And then
more
who
like
else you
Little
got?
Willie.
Oh my god, damn.
It'll rattle him.
Who else you got your eyes on? You got
Oh, I'm well rattled, but Big Max from Newcastle.
Newcastle?
Newcastle. From my team. He's from my team.
What team?
Newcastle Knights, because I'm from Musselwell Brook, which is inland of Newcastle, and that was the closest one. So back when Newcastle won the Premiership back in '97, back in Joey. Jeez, come on, mate, '97, not that long ago. Easily, still remember it. That solidified my oath to a team which I didn't realise it as a child at the moment, but essentially come last most.
I believe
years.
a couple of people forwarded you his squats. He's got a very big squat, so we'll see how things go. Obviously, at the end of the day,
tremendous squat, and not bad at the other lifts either. So,
but we all know that deadlifts are what win competitions, and Will's just got to hang on.
Well,
for
that's
dear
what
life.
I like to tell myself. Yes.
Jesus, now Mickey's talking smack. Fucking hell. Can't we all just love each other?
I throw hate out at everyone. Fuck it, light fires.
Yeah. But what we're saying is there are other strong people. Who,
Yes.
It's not like I'm cruising in going like, hey, sick.
Someone did say that if Will wins ProRaw, that they're going to get a next.
Who's this? Who's this? Who's this fuck? Who's this?
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, shout out Girdler.
That's why I
but
wanted to work
he
with you
did
as a
say
coach.
he was going to get a Nexus logo tattooed on him if Will won ProRaw. Loz Gunn beat him to the punch though, and she's already gone out and got herself a Nexus tattoo. So shout out to Loz.
Oh, we've already
Love
given
your
her a
work.
shout out. I'll take that shout
Disappointed.
out back. You only get one shout out.
Did you already shout her out? Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed this.
Yeah, you
Right.
did.
Disappointed in Caden though. Disappointed in
I wouldn't be
Caden.
surprised if Girdler did.
I'm disappointed in Caden though. He hasn't got one.
I want to see someone get a tramp stamp. If someone gets a Nexus tramp stamp,
You
I'd be
keep
so
making
happy.
these fucking promises.
And
You
I will
told
add
everyone I was
$2
giving
to that
people.
kitty, bringing it to its hasty $17. So
Yeah, but you just threw it out in the last 30 seconds of the recording, and then
Mickey, you were on the podcast. You could have said no. You approved of it. Hey, you can't blame the simple one.
All right.
It's
that's
like
why
if
we
you tell
rely
a
on
toddler to help make a
ChatGPT
painting,
now
you
instead
don't
of
just say, fuck,
instead
this
of
is
getting
shit
you
painting
right
and throw it
things.
in the bin in front of him.
yeah, spelling errors everywhere.
You throw it in the bin after. You could have put out
Let's
a
wrap
statement.
this up there now, guys. Thank you very much.
Red hot. And if you enjoyed this issue of Nexus Performance with me holding the reins, Thank you for listening to Nexus Unloaded. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned on today's podcast, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gym services. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at NexusPerformance.Aus for any updates on what we are currently doing. See you all in the next episode.